Okay, let's look at another type of problem where I might give you an inclined plane and ask you if you think the block will slide. The way this works is I have to tell you how much the force of gravity is. And the way I do that is the size of this arrow, this vector. I say that if gravity is that big, and then I can tell you that if the force of friction is less than or equal to, let's say this. Let's say if the force of friction is this big. Okay, so what we do is we imagine that this is the X and Y. Since the plane is tilted, we have to imagine that our X and Y are tilted. So the shadow of the sun, setting sun, would cast its shadow on the wall about that big. And if the sun was down here and it cast its shadow on the floor, we would have an arrow about that big. And technically, since we now have this arrow represented this way and that way, we could imagine that it's gone, you know. But I'm just going to kind of leave a faint impression of it so we know what we started with. But here's the thing. The normal force is going to have to support this much weight. So although that's kind of irrelevant to the problem, I just want to point that out. That if the ramp is going to be able to hold this up, it's going to have to support, it's going to have to oppose this much force. But that's not the question. The question is whether friction will be enough. And I said by drawing this arrow this long, I'm basically saying that friction can fight this hard. Hopefully this looks about the same length as that. And that's not enough because it may cancel that much of this arrow, but you're going to be left with an unbalanced force that's going to shove it down the ramp. So block will slide. If this arrow had been longer, like way longer, it wouldn't slide, because if I said that the force of friction is this big, that means less than or equal to, so that means it'll supply up to that much, but it won't go past that much. And if I said that it was this long, that would be clearly enough to support that force, but it's not, because I didn't say that. I said that it was this long. Okay, so that's how I'm trying to communicate to you by writing F sub S is the force of static friction is less than or equal to that.